And we have a couple new people joining, and I was told someone might join on a telephone, but I don't see that quite yet, but maybe he'll come later. So
you guys can just
everybody.
get Apple and you don't have to worry about when Microsoft anymore.
Yeah.
It's true.
Well, they're changing. Apple changes all the time
from
too.
what, Indianapolis are you or something?
Charlotte.
Charlotte, okay.
Yep.
Only been there a
Charlotte, North
couple
Carolina?
times.
Yes.
Okay.
You have a great airport there.
Yes, with the rocking chairs, right?
And I even have family there.
Everybody seems to. It is the
Yeah.
most bizarre thing. My mom's neighbor, it turned out her family was, just down the road. I mean, a different aunt and uncle were visiting a different cousin down here. Yeah, and it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, he was raised in Greensboro, but then when he married, they moved to Charlotte.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Well, welcome to the new people. I just want to mention a little bit first before we get into genealogy, but if anyone has the new ADRC brochure for the people in Door County, there's going to be a program on the granary and this side, and then I'll be doing a genealogy program at the end of July. So anyone who can come, I encourage you to come and help out.
Is that going to be Zoom or in person?
It's in person.
Okay.
At 10 o'clock on the 29th. So I think it's just a first program to see the interest there. We may go into local history and things more to oral history, but it'll be a sort of introductory thing. So anybody who can come, it'd be great if you come and join in and help out. So I wanted to mention that.
Is that going to be for all levels?
It's kind of beginning, just introduction. Okay. I don't know what people know there or would be interested in there. So it's a sort of test.
I know there's a couple of ladies I met there. When it was open, that were genealogists or dabbed in it too. So I think, you might have some interest there, Laura.
Okay. And yes.
I was going to say, I talked to them about 2 years ago, seeing that, they wanted somebody to do genealogy. And the lady I talked with, I think she was like the director or something, or maybe the program director. She said that most of the people there were interested in Door County genealogy, which I know nothing.
Yeah.
And so it didn't go any farther, So with you, obviously, Laura, you're very familiar with that. So.
Well, and also
I'll try to be there.
I'm hoping to maybe lead this into some oral history, and Steve Rice would get involved with his kids and maybe record some people at some point, because certainly they would have a lot of stories to tell. So that's one thing I had to mention. Then has anyone been doing anything special? Russ and Carrie, have you projects you're working on? Are you local, Door County heritage or outside?
I'm up in West Virginia.
Oh,
go ahead.
West Virginia.
Hey, Russ.
Wow.
Okay, sorry, Russ first. Go ahead, Russ. West Virginia. How did you hear about this?
I typed in on Facebook and I typed in genealogy. And then I just scrolled down on the live events till I found about several, and I picked you all out.
Oh, great. Well, welcome.
Yeah.
And is your genealogy mainly out in the East Coast? Are you mainly researching the East Coast, or what area? Yeah.
I've been doing genealogy since about 1977, after the movie Roots came on.
Oh, and, yes.
Back then, all we had was pencil and paper.
Yep.
We didn't have the World Wide Web or anything. And I spent a lot of hours in the courthouses and traipsing through weeds to find cemetery stones. Right now, I am working at getting a lot of the information off my old Vista computer that has almost 7,000 names in it,
Wow.
stored to the laptop that I'm on now to use it to go to courthouses. I'm trying to get it also, the family tree posted to ancestry.com and the wiki tree. I'm just wondering, after I do all this and I'm gone, who's going to care? I wish somebody would care enough to want to pick it up.
Yeah, and that's a subject we've discussed in the past, and digital preservation of the files you have now is very important, and I'm glad you're trying to get them off that old computer. Carrie,
I'm
How
running
about you?
3 computers right now.
wow.
The old Vista computer, the one that I'm on right now, and then the desktop. I'm also got it on to the ancestry.com on my Kindle, and I don't remember what else. And of course, I'm trying to keep the old paper records updated.
Yeah, that's a lot to organize, that's for sure. And Carrie told me
I
she's
have
from
lost
Colorado.
power here.
Oh, you've been broken up a little bit, so we can sort of hear that. You're having some trouble out there.
Yes, I just lost power. So you might lose me. Always the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Carrie, you're in Colorado, and what area are you doing research in?
Yep, I'm in Colorado, but most of my family is from the Omaha, Nebraska, and surrounding areas. And then some of my family comes from Sweden, some comes from Germany, some comes from Ireland. And then I have multiple ancestors that came from Moravia and Bohemia, the Czech Republic.
Yeah, you and I are very similar in many ways. I have
Yeah.
a lot of Bohemians.
Yeah.
And my son, they all first went to Nebraska, a lot of them. Table
Oh,
Rock.
wow, yeah.
Yeah, but then they moved to South Dakota.
Yeah.
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
What has everybody else been working on? Anything you want to mention?
Sure, I'll mention, I've been researching my wife's ancestry. And she was in the Adams family. She's not directly related to the presidents, but she probably is related further on, and or back further. And I ran across her, my wife's second great grandmother. Second great grandmother, who is a Flint, Flint. And it just so happened in researching that woman, that mother, I ran across a report or a book that was written in, I think 1920, I believe it was. And it was about the Flint family. And so it was really of interest to me for 2 reasons. One is that Linda, my wife, happens to have a quilt that was made by her ancestor, Susan Flint, and that would have been her 3rd great grandmother. And then I had also heard, or she had heard in the family, that they were the family lived in Salem, Massachusetts, and they had lived there during the witch trials, and that somehow the family was related to the witch trials. And so I went through that a little bit, and I found somebody, which I can't find again. I don't know, I thought I had record, but anyway, that he actually, the person that was involved with the witch trials, was the only one that was actually burned at the stake because of the trials.
Really? Who was it?
Yeah,
Do you remember? What
I
was
don't
the
remember
name?
the guy's. See, that's the thing. I don't remember the name. I thought I kept the record of it, but I can't find it. But I'll find it eventually again, because it's,
But was it a man?
yeah, it was a man. It's according to what, that's why I'm trying to find it.
There
So I
were
don't
very
know.
few men, I think, that were, I mean, it was mostly young,
Women, yeah, I know.
women, I mean, not older
Right.
women that were,
Well, see, maybe it was a daughter of this fellow or something. I don't,
huh.
or wife of this fellow. I I wish I could remember.
I don't know what either, Tom, but it seems to me in my travels, I didn't zero in on it because I don't have a connection necessarily, but I have heard of a few men who were.
Yeah, they were
Tried at least. I don't know
yeah,
about executed.
Yeah, I don't think they were. I don't know. I'm not that familiar with the trials, but I kept going back and found out that the first ancestor, Thomas Flint, was born in England in 1603 and came over to, he and his brother came over the they came over to this country in sometime before 1640. And when they did, their mother was already here, okay, according to the legend, and which is interesting. I haven't found any proof on that. But then going through the hierarchy, or the ancestor, what they call it, oh, that's that word I can't pronounce. But anyway, going through the family history, I found a reference to Abraham Lincoln, which I kind of knew that the family history lore was that this family, the Flints, were somehow related to Abraham Lincoln. And sure enough, they are. And so my wife is like, I don't know, second cousin 10 times removed or something, but so she's related to Abraham Lincoln, to John Adams and John Quincy Adams,
Wow.
Right.
and my ancestors, they were just dirt poor farmers.
Tom, she's gonna be hard to live with when she.
I know, I haven't told her yet. It's royalty. But I have a lot more work to do on it because, this goes back to 1600s. So it's like eight or nine great grandparents with all their, ancestors. But the one nice thing about it is that somebody else has done all the work,
Right.
both on Abraham Lincoln and on the Adams family, because it's New England and there's a couple of presidents. So they do all the work, and so I just have to make the connection somehow, and the work's done for me, which is nice. So that's what I've been working on. So
Pretty
Yeah,
neat.
Dan has some Adams family, I mean, they're very tangential. They're not direct line, I don't think.
yeah.
But I keep running into it. I mentioned this a few months ago, maybe a couple of months ago, about the Great Migration.
Mhm.
The book, there's 3 volumes to this. Well, late at night, for about half an hour, I am following the people that are related to Dan's family. So I look at the name, and I've on the back for each volume, it lists all the names that are in this particular volume, and they're in there by alphabetical order. But the person that I find is often not the direct ancestor, but a son or a brother, or some other. But within the narrative about that person, there is information about Dan's direct ancestor. So, for example, the books cover only till 1633. It doesn't go beyond that. And most of Dan's ancestors came after 1633. But there's some that did fall in that earlier period. But what it does is gives you references for example, I was looking up the French family. Anybody have any with a surname named French? This Thomas French was born in like 1603, but he's the older brother of Dan's ancestor, who was the immigrant. And it says that in the notes that he the parents and the other younger siblings came later, after 1633. So it doesn't cover them, but at least it puts the connection there. So I'm entering some of that information because, for example, 2 of the sisters came a year after the brother did, and then he gives their married names. And everything is about family. So sometimes noting the family details, like who the daughter's married, could be important.
Yeah.
So,
Gretchen, is volume 2 released on that yet? And you just
Oh,
don't have it, or,
no, I have all 3 volumes.
oh, you do?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so you're starting with 1, but you should find more detail on Dan's family in volume 2.
No, they go alphabetically. So one takes Abbott to Fuller.
Oh,
So people with the surname Abbott to Fuller are in volume 1.
but that's
And then-
only up to 1633.
1633. The people that are reported here are those that came up to 1633. But in the narrative, it gives like a list of the children.
Oh,
So it takes the family on, onward from there.
oh, okay, I see.
But the person that's actually covered was somebody that actually immigrated between 1620 and 1633. It's very fascinating documentation. It's very complete too. So if you have somebody that comes in those years, you're gonna find out a lot of information.
Mhm.
Yeah, I've seen some books like that, and
There
they're
we go.
fascinating,
Finally got it
even
out.
if it isn't,
Library,
can't make a
Zoom,
direct connection immediately.
genealogy.
It just gives
Right.
you so much information to go and dig through that I haven't had enough time to do a
Hope you
lot
don't
lately,
mind.
but
It's either have,
Right.
so it's been fun. That part of it's just fascinating. You learn so much about what went on back then, even if it
Yeah.
doesn't
Yes.
directly
Yeah.
impact your own work.
Yeah, I'd love to, but I haven't been able to get farther back than, well, for sure, 1809. But I believe we were 1775 in Virginia. But, I can't find anything.
I think Virginia is really hard to that's Myrma Howard, who really started the Northern Door Genealogical Society. Her family goes back to Virginia, and she's never
Yeah.
been able to connect them to Scott. Her family came from Scotland, but she's never been able to make the direct connection.
No, nor I. Mine's the same. These people, this side came from Scotland.
Yeah, so did hers.
But so many of the records in the smaller outlying areas were stored elsewhere. For instance, ours were probably Richmond. Well, in the War of 1812, forget that. They just burned and ravaged everything. So the ability to find the older records is extremely difficult in Virginia.
Plus, Virginia was kind of a strange bedfellow of the original 13, and
Oh,
why
I know.
the Constitution was written around them
Yep.
Right.
in order to get them to come on board. So all their records were, who knows what they did with them all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
then
I-
they split part of Virginia into West Virginia.
Right.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate to be in most of my wife's family's in the Massachusetts area, so it's
Yeah,
a little bit
Massachusetts
easier.
is good.
Yeah, they've got a lot of very good records.
I'm
They do.
beginning to
Hey,
think
New
my
Hampshire,
folks just came
Massachusetts.
over on a boat and went up the James River, the Rappahannock and the James River, and then just thought, this is a great place, and stopped. But
One
there's
one of
no,
the things that I found is, like my wife's family, and when you get back across the Atlantic, back into history, their families were so diverse, but some of them came through like Massachusetts, and a lot of them came through New York. And then Quebec was a great big place that they all came in and they migrated. Some of them were French, some were English. And how they all migrated and got together and
yeah.
created
Well,
is beyond
and then-
one's wildest imagination, how they all got together
And then the
back in
other,
those days.
yeah, the other side of the family, the Johnson, my mother's side, they were in Philadelphia, and I assumed he probably immigrated in Philadelphia because that was a big port. But I'm beginning to think I shouldn't really presuppose that, because Baltimore was another place that they came into, and maybe I can find something there. And of
That
course,
may be where the boat came in, but
Right.
the
And of
history
course,
may
his
be
name-
in Pennsylvania. Didn't they, maybe some of you guys know, didn't they consolidate some of the Pennsylvania records into one repository someplace now?
I
I don't
That
know.
I don't know.
Because I've been trying to track some stuff and for one
Yeah.
branch of my
Oh.
wife's family in Pennsylvania, and I found a lot on the cemeteries, but all the records they said were being transferred into a central location, and
Well,
I thought it was Philadelphia.
yeah, the Pennsylvania Archives is what what I've been able to find out is pretty much what it is. But
Okay,
at this point, I'm going through church records because that far back, my likelihood, I think, of finding something is going to be going through the church records, which
Right.
Pennsylvania does have a lot of them online, both through Ancestry and Family Search. But it's tedious, to say the least.
At least you
Oh,
don't
right.
have a language problem. At least you don't have a, yeah, at least you
Yeah,
know, the English is, well, it isn't the same, but at least it's close.
it's close.
Yeah,
yeah,
So
but
is so is the Scottish. It's rather close, so that's a
yeah.
help.
That's better than the German or French.
But now that Russ is back, Russ, do you know? I don't recall. Yes, hello. I don't recall, but when there were parts of Northern Virginia and Western that broke off and became West Virginia. Do you know when that was?
Civil War.
He doesn't have his mic on.
Oh,
You don't have,
audio.
you don't have your
Russ.
audio on, Russ. Your audio is muted.
I think,
better?
well, it was during the Civil War, wasn't it? Because West Virginia was all Union sympathizers and regular Virginia was all Southern sympathizers, wasn't it? Wasn't that the history of it?
President Lincoln signed the proclamation in January 20th, 1863, and it was to be 6 months later on June the 20th, 1863, to become officially a state.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So during
That's
the
a
Civil
precise
War.
answer.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. He
You must
knows
be a
his history.
professor.
He knows his history.
It's
Which-
time
which-
travel.
I wish I could say, I wish I could say I know that much about Wisconsin history.
Yeah.
The first capital was in Belmont, but I can't remember when.
Yes,
Probably
and I've been there.
1848 when they became a state.
I've been there.
Earlier, I think 1830s. I don't know. I don't know if it was a
Well,
territorial
Was that the
capital.
territorial capital
I think
before?
so.
Okay,
Then it was short time. It was it was a state capital. Then they moved it to Madison.
Right. And Laura had some good news for me from Wisconsin about, she said she knew an archivist and someone else, Laura, you said looking for had looked into Thomas Diamond.
Yeah, I can't remember now. I have so many projects going on right now, but what did I say? Do you remember?
Yeah, that was about it. Messenger. You found me on Facebook and said you knew
Oh.
somebody who had already done some research on Thomas Diamond, and you were also possibly contacting an archivist or an archivist. Maybe that was connected with photos or something. So
Yes, the archives are under the auspices of the library now. So Steve Rice is the person who runs that.
great.
So I'll have to dig that email out. I've been
Okay,
flooded
yeah,
lately.
it was a Facebook message, and then I just found your Facebook now, so I.
Oh, someone was trying to reach you, but I didn't have your email, I think.
Yeah, I just found your email on the website, so I will email you so you have my email, because
Okay.
in the meantime, I also reached out to, Steve didn't get the whole diamond thread history last time. I think you missed the last meeting, but I was thanking you and everyone else for the leads they'd given me, and it had really panned
Yes.
out. Including what you had found, Steve, on the Sister Bay historical site about Rosens, which were now a descendant of her great-great-granddaughter is Patrice Champeau, and she had responded to one of the email or one of the Facebook postings of Sister Bay Historical Society. So I messaged her, which it took a while to get a reply back, of course, because we don't have a connection. And I was just asking her if she had any other information that she had posted on that Facebook post. And she said, yes, probably, but she was very busy and contact her in winter. So I will do that. And I was like, oh, of course, by all means, enjoy the nice weather now. And she's, you know, I'm sure it was, she said, I'm sure probably buried in some files. I do. So that was exciting. So I have, you know, 3 contacts. Then I had the strangest story. I was Zooming with my local genealogy group here. So I was telling, you know, they do the same thing, like, what have you done? What have you found out? So here I was, you know, explaining Wisconsin, because these are not people from North Carolina, but they're not, you know, connected. And I was talking about Door County. I go through this whole thing, Thomas Diamond, and what I found out. And then one of the women in our group says, well, you know, if you come to visit, let me know. And I said, okay. And she said, I'm here in Bailey's Harbor. And I said, what? You're not in Charlotte? And she said, no. And we were all trying to figure out, like, what was she doing there? And she had moved there, of all things and all places. So it was the strangest thing that I'm like, okay, I know I'm not in the Door County group.
What's wrong with Door County?
Well,
Bailey's
nothing,
Harbor.
but it was just so strict. You know, she let me go through the whole thing and explaining Door County. And she was there the whole time, which I thought was funny. So she said, oh, send me the information. I'll do some sleuthing. So then I had another person looking for him.
Nice.
And then there was there one more person? So I have all these people, you know, boots on the ground spies looking that I didn't know existed. So that's been really fun. So thank you.
Well, and I have another Northern Door situation that someone's looking up the name Lind, L-I-N-D, from Sweden.
Uh-huh.
August Lind, who had property near Ellison Bay.
Huh.
And he came over apparently around 1870
Okay.
from Sweden. And the person who's looking for him can't find any Swedish records. I did find, the funny thing about him is, and I'm mystified by this, the Wisconsin Historical Society has a record that says there's a death record for, let's see, I forget the date, for March 28th, 1906, whereas Find a Grave has his headstone and it says his death date is April 8th, 1905.
Huh.
And both of them indicate he's in Liberty Grove. And I did find him on the 1900 census with his son. He's a widower at that point. So I'm really wondering how they have those 2 different dates.
Yeah.
Or the death, and both of them in Liberty Grove in this one man. He was naturalized. I found that online. And how would you go about finding Swedish records for someone like that?
Well, I
Born in
have,
1842.
yeah, I can access the Swedish records. I have a database, which I have a brand new computer now, because that computer that I've been dealing with for 3 months, what turned out to be such a lemon. My son and I, we went in St. Paul, we went over to St. Louis Park to the Micro Center, which is a computer store. And they gave me a new computer in exchange for the lemon.
Oh, great, nice.
I only had to pay $64 extra, and it has more capacity.
Nice.
But I just got it this weekend because my son brought it down to where I was, and so finally I have my computer. But I don't have everything on it yet. But this Emmy-Boss record is a record of all people who have left Sweden. So it gives you some information. Sometimes it tells you where they were going.
Mhm.
One problem with the Swedish people, when they left Sweden, they didn't necessarily keep their name in the United States. They changed it.
Yeah.
And, you know, you might know what a family name is, but if you know a birth date in Sweden, and even better yet, a parish, I can usually find the records. Everything is by parish.
I don't know the parish. I know the birth date is in 1842. It's on his headstone on Find a Grave. So
yeah, I could look him up in the Swedish records.
Which one was the oldest, Laura? The Find a Grave or your other records?
Door County has him 1906, and Find a Grave has him for 1905. Here, let me see if I can
Is
pull it
it-
up.
Same
is
date?
that- Is
Same
that
date?
with a death certificate?
No, no, different days, completely, a year apart.
I've seen that with other, not necessarily in Door County, but with other ones. For some reason, they'll be a year apart. And I don't know if they had to
Yeah.
wait until they could dig a hole, or they
I've
had
seen it.
they
I've
had some
seen it
service at the
completely.
church, and by the time they got to a place to bury him and bring the rest of the family together, I don't know.
Well,
Laura?
I think something like that's happened from time to time.
that's
Yeah,
what I was thinking, but,
I've noticed it too. But do you have a death certificate for him?
no, somebody, a volunteer may go over to the Register of Deeds and find something, you know, see the original record because it is pre-1907.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had very little luck getting that stuff.
Yeah,
Pre-1900, yeah.
If he was naturalized, wouldn't it going, well, changing a little
let
bit.
me show you quickly who he is. Do you see that?
Okay, but if,
August E. Lind. Let me write this date. I'm gonna write the date down, just a minute.
And the thing about it is, maybe, I thought maybe this is a mistake for Ellison Bay, but the Peninsula Genealogical Society did a lot of documenting and they don't want to combine with Find a Grave. So they had the same information on their website, even though they don't want to work with Find a Grave. So the fact that they have that, they have just a line saying August E. Lind, father, and then the exact same date. So I'm pretty sure this is accurate. And here's a picture of him down here. And on the 1900 census and the other censuses, his son's name is Leonard. So I don't know quite where this comes from. The newspapers do mention an Oscar. There's no obituary in the obituary index or online that I could find unless there's a different name. I thought maybe his name would be L-Y-N-D, but
Well,
just-
Lind is, this is the Swedish spelling of it.
this is a Swedish spelling, L-I-N-D.
Yes,
Okay,
Trinity Lutheran Church was one of the churches that
I know,
Gretchen, and
Yes.
so we may
Yeah.
have him listed in
right.
those records. We'll have to check that. I can.
Do you have a way of
those
checking that, Tom?
Yeah, I have all that information still on my computer.
Okay,
So
Yeah, check him
to
out.
see. I'll check it out. And the other thing, as far as his place in Sweden, his parish in Sweden, I don't know, maybe if he's naturalized, he may have said that on his petition, you know, where he was from in Sweden,
right.
because, you know,
I
that
found-
sometimes happens.
I found him
Nope.
listed in the naturalization on Family Search, but it only lists his name. It doesn't tell any details. I suppose that would be in, if it's through Wisconsin, it would be at UWGB, right? The original certificate.
Yeah, but there's also a database on, I think it's on Ancestry, that you can go through, that is by county, the naturalizations in Wisconsin. And because I've used it to find mine.
I'll have
And,
a look.
and they will have, it's actually through Wisconsin Historical Society is where it is, or library. And you can look it up and you can see what they have. They should have, well, depending on when they was naturalized, either has 1 or 3 documents. So it might, you know.
You know, another thing that could have happened, and it just kind of happened in the case of my father. My brother, I don't know, for some reason was over at the cemetery a few months ago and was looking at mom and dad's graves, and my dad's death date was not on the headstone.
Huh.
Why, we didn't know. And neither of my brothers had any idea what the day was my dad died. And they contacted me, and I happened to have the records. But I thought, I wonder if that happens in a lot of families where the gravestones don't get updated, and then they have to rely on another generation or 2 generations later to try to recall what all that information is. Now, because my dad died in 1984, that record can be retrieved pretty easily from vital stats here in Wisconsin. But I'm thinking back where you're looking at, Laura, people could have just forgot to do it, and then somebody picked the date out of the air and they couldn't remember if it was, 1905 or 1906 or whatever.
Well, the Door County has the record of 1905 and, 1906.
Right.
So that record came later than the headstone, you could say. However, here's another twist.
It's weird.
Here's another twist. And I did find a death in Indiana for an August Lind for the exact same day, which would be April 8th, 1905.
Huh.
So I thought maybe that's the same one, but someone looked at it and said, no, it's something different, but I'd have to go back and look at it again. But it seems like a coincidence, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Indiana, right? Just barely south of Chicago.
Yeah. Tom, or Gretchen, how accurate are our county records from back in the early 1900s? I mean, were they dedicated to make sure they were really accurate, or were they just throwing them in a file or a book or something? I don't know.
Unless you know who the people were.
Okay,
I don't know if you could make a judgment,
Yeah, because you're relying on something that somebody probably manually wrote somewhere
Right.
that may or may not be correct. That Laura's got herself kind of in a quandary here.
okay. I found August Lind in our Trinity Lutheran Church burial records for 1900 to 1941. And where'd it go? I lost it. There it is. Okay. It says here, death date was March 28th, 1906. Burial date was March 31st, 1906. He was 64 years, 3 months, 5 days from Sweden. He died of diabetes. And
Wow.
Gretchen, help me here, Gretchen. It says SukkersYge, whatever that means.
Spell that again.
SukkersYge. That's in the notes.
Sukker. That means sugar. That's diabetes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Is there
Yeah,
any
we have
chance
them
you
listed.
could send me a little that information?
Sure. Be glad
would
to. I'll
be
send you
really
the whole file. Now,
wonderful.
those files, just so you know, all that information that we did is on, I gave that to the historical library, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whenever that was. But I obviously kept the copy.
Well, I'm glad you kept a copy.
Yeah.
Tom, did it didn't say anything where he came from in Sweden? Because sometimes
just said-
the records
just-
did notice that. Note
It
that.
just said Sweden. Yep, that's
Okay.
all
So-
it's here.
So the
And they
headstone
have-
is wrong.
They have the original historical
That's what I was getting
library
at, yeah.
has our Xerox copies of the church records. Remember, Gretchen?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
you guys
right.
all did. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Memorial Historical Society there across the street has all that information,
Oh,
because that's where I gave the copies to, because I didn't want them.
well, thank you. That's really helpful. I'll pass that on.
Yeah, I'll pass
That's
that.
great, Tom. We got a use for our records.
Yeah, finally, finally have a use. Never heard anything from Family History Library, so I don't know what they did with it.
Oh, did you send it to them too?
Oh yeah, I sent it to them. I sent them copies of everything, and I followed their procedures, and they never. I don't think they even sent anything back, and I have to admit I have not looked to see if they're on their database.
Yeah.
Okay, I have not looked to see. Maybe they are.
They might be.
Yeah, or maybe they just threw it in the trash and said those bozos in Wisconsin.
No, they wouldn't do
They
that.
don't know what you're doing.
So how would the headstone be wrong
Yeah.
like that? Someone put it in later?
The family member just didn't, I don't know.
That's what I was getting at. Is sometimes the family, you have to rely on a family member's
Yeah.
memory, and it could be two
Yeah, it could have.
generations later.
It could have. The headstone may not have been put there in 1906. It may have been put later.
Sounds like
1940, who knows?
Yeah.
We
don't
know
The only place you might find, well, I don't think they have records. Some, if it's a public cemetery, they would have those records probably. But since this is a church cemetery, I don't know if
Well,
they have.
the pastor was the one that was kept keeping those records.
Yeah,
So that
don't
date
know.
came from the pastor. You would think he would have known what he was doing.
you would think so.
but
So-
I've even found that with death certificates. especially if you're looking for maiden names and so on, it all depends on what the informant knew,
Yes.
you know, and
And handwriting.
right, and I've detected some errors that I just know doggone well what her maiden name was. You know, I don't know where they came up with that one, but yeah, that happens too. And a lot of that with genealogy, even stuff you find in books,
Yeah.
you know, like
Oh, yeah.
some people will go just so far, claim it's true, and then they're on to some other project and
Right, right.
it's not true.
Mr. Johnson, you're finally working, huh?
Turn on your audio, Steve.
Still not working.
It's
Good
still
enough.
not he's
Oh,
still
there we
mute
go. How about
there.
that? Is that
There.
okay?
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, we got Microsoft.
You got me? I had to go for late breakfast. I'm still sitting there.
A late breakfast? It's
Yeah.
2:30, Steve. I'm not judging.
I know.
I'd like
Anyway, it's a
to
late
comment
breakfast,
on some of the
I'm
things
at,
y'all were saying.
Betsy Ross.
Okay. Laura, Russ wants to talk.
Yeah, Russ, what did you have to say about it?
Yeah, something about these deaths and births from long ago. A lot of times a preacher will come in and he'll do a recording of the deaths and births and all, and then he goes back to his home parish in another state and he records it over there, but it doesn't get recorded over here. And that's where a lot of confusion comes from.
Right.
Also, when there's no date of like death, I'm working on that right now myself with my great grandfather's wife. Everybody's assumed all the funeral home will take care of it, or the immediate family. Well, the immediate family's dead, so it gets lost and nobody ever assumes responsibility, and that's where a lot of it gets confusing. I took care of the cemetery stone for my immediate family, the Dunlap Cemetery, and I found one of our veterans did not have a stone, so I got it. I went through the Veterans Administration, show him, said, here's a proof that he was in World War II. Here's a copy of his death certificate. And I sent that all in with the paperwork. Then they sent it all back. They said, we need proof that he was born. Okay. I sent him proof
He
that
died,
he was born.
but they don't have that.
He died, but we need proof that he was born. So I got that taken care of. All the dates since I was a genealogist back then in the 70s. I sent that all in with accurate records, and then the stone came back one day off on date of death. So
Oh, dear.
you've heard the phrase is cast in stone. Well, that doesn't always necessarily mean yes, that is true. So that's some comments I was wanting to add into that. Just because somebody was born or died somewhere doesn't mean that it's going to get recorded like that.
Right, and I think that the church records confirmed the date would be 1906, and someone maybe put it later in a headstone there, is my guess.
Yeah.
Or no, he wasn't. He didn't die there. He died this date here, and there's tends you have to flip a coin and hope that you flip the coin for the right date.
Yeah.
At times.
I see a lot of that.
If anybody, before I forget, if anybody did not know it, and I hope more states do this, the West Virginia Cultural Center you can go onto their website. It is wvcultural.org, I believe. Yes, it is. /history/archives index. Just go to their main page. You can look up all the deaths for free.
Russ,
Or-
what's that? What
And
is
I haven't
that website again? What's the overall?
Okay,
website?
it's the letters. Okay, just look up WV, that's Whiskey Victor, culture.org.
Culture.org. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
CULTURE.
Okay. Yeah, good. I can
Somewhere on their website, I've been looking for it, and power went out, and I lost that page.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm gonna
But if you look on their website, somewhere on it is where you can look up, just type in for births. I
yeah,
haven't had much luck look up for deaths. I haven't had much luck on births
yeah. I'm
and
just gonna
weddings,
check over
but
I'm just gonna check about my Virginia people if they didn't slide over or whatever. Back at the time. I'm trying anything to find them.
I find
if
like
they were
you're
born
saying-
in the area that became West Virginia, I think those records will be in West Virginia.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Steve, did you have something to
I
add?
was just gonna say, I find a lot of the conflicts of dates and births because different churches had different processes as far as baptisms or whatever they call them in different religions. And so I've been going back through a lot of my records just to look at what I've got and clean them up and get the correct dates. And I'll have 3 or 4 different dates of a birth. They may not be off by more than 30 days, 5 days or something like that. And then you go and you look and you say, oh yeah, the church records had it here because they don't consider you born until they baptize you.
Yeah,
And some of them, they were out in the rural areas. So by the time they ever got the information into town to whoever kept the records, they just said, oh yeah, they were born last week.
in this
Nobody
case,
really
it was a
kept
year.
calendars a lot of times back then. So it's kind of a coin toss, kind of like what
Yeah.
Russ was saying with deaths. You don't know where they got the information or who posted it.
Well, thank you for your help. I want to mention one more thing before we end in about 10 minutes or so. I attended an online digital preservation meeting that Recollection Wisconsin is holding. And it's aimed at organizations in general, but they have some really good, useful information. So I want to show you where you can go. We were talking about, having different computers with all different sorts of different files on them. And that's what they cover a lot. If you go to our library website, DoreCountyLibrary.org, to our calendar, I put the link here under our today's meeting. So what they talked about at this first meeting, whoops, wrong one, sorry. I hit the wrong link. I apologize. This one right here, digital readiness or digital preservation. They're having 4 meetings. They had the first one at Appleton or through Appleton Library, and that's the one I went to, and they posted things here. And what's really useful, I think a lot of people will be interested in, is how you can convert digital files like old VHS tapes and old audio files and those little movie things that people had, the little micro ones or mini VHS type tapes, how you can convert those to digital, because the VHS tapes are going to be gone. They're going to totally not work within a few years, 15 or 20 at the very most, but a lot of them are being warped right now. So they had a lady from the University of Wisconsin-Madison talking all about how to save things there. This is the program right here, the 2 boxes of tapes. So if you're interested in trying to transfer your old files, old movies to new digital ways of storage, I would recommend that one highly. And you can sign up for these, but they will be posting the programs online here at this website. Again, it's Recollection Wisconsin, the Digital Readiness Fairs. And I just noticed that coming up, 2 programs that may be of interest to people. In July, on the 16th, they're going to talk about the Clio app. Has anyone heard of that one? It's CLIO, and we've been trying to do it here in Door County with mixed success. But they've done, we have some volunteers at the museum doing some sidewalk stone walks where, you know, in Sturgeon Bay, they changed the names of the streets. So they did a walk where you can go and see the old stones. But some of the other historical groups in Door County are trying to use it too. And basically it's an app that you can put on a phone and then you can walk around town and see these different buildings and sites. So they're doing one on that, and you can also do it as an individual, just putting up one thing here or there. So if you want to learn about that, that's on July 16th, and then on August 18th, the program's going to have digital projects by the Dodge and Jefferson County Genealogical Society. So if anyone's interested in transferring records to digital formats, it would be kind of interesting to see what they've been working on there.
I have used their library, their research library, the Dodge and Jefferson County, and they are a very active society. They have a lot of stuff going on, and so they're very active. So I would expect them to, you know, have a really good program.
Yeah.
They put out an excellent newsletter, monthly or quarterly newsletter that they apparently have some very good, very interested members who want to write articles. And they're usually very, very interesting articles about history of the local area or how to use whatever you want to talk about, you know.
Yeah.
And, so I would recommend, you know, I would think they'd be very good.
And you can watch the recordings, but if you want to, you know, ask questions, you can register and then go to the meeting itself. So someone was in the other day in the library the other day and asked me about how to preserve certain papers. And I told her about getting acid-free containers. But I also told her, if you really want to be careful about preserving your documents, you should have them digitized, because you never know what will happen. You know, think of those census, 1890 census being totally destroyed.
Ugh.
So not only do you
321,
want the,
remember?
yeah,
321.
yep,
Remember
321, exactly.
Yep.
Tell us what that means.
Yeah, you know, I'd say 1 is you have your copy on your computer. 2 is you have it backed up to 2 local drives. And 3, you have it on 3 cloud locations.
No, to be honest,
No?
I'll correct you on that one.
Good, good. Tell me what it is.
I think you have 3 versions on 2 formats.
Oh, that's what it is.
So for
Okay.
example, one would
That was
be,
close.
one
Come on,
has
that
to
was
be,
close.
one has to be at a distant location so that if there's a hurricane, it won't be destroyed. So basically you might have a, you know, online on a portable hard drive and then one in the cloud, that sort of thing. You know, so that's the 3-2-1 rule. Has anyone practiced that?
Well, I have one drive now with my new computer and my techie son. I now have one drive. I've also got terabyte auxiliary hard drive. And-
Gretchen, I wanted
yeah.
to ask that because I'll tell you, it's a little techie, but this I want to get a new laptop, but ever since the beginning, I do all my work, not just genealogy, everything. I do it on OneDrive in the cloud.
Oh, yeah.
You look at my C drive, I've got not much of anything on it.
Well, that's
Right.
I'm still
Well,
a little mystified.
What I'm
about it.
considering, because then when I do the external hard drive,
Yeah.
that only copies what's on your C drive.
Right.
It doesn't copy cloud stuff. So what I'm thinking of is on my new computer, when I get it, doing all my work on C drive, you can automatically tell it to back up to OneDrive,
Yes.
which would be my second place. And
Right.
then when I would do my external hard drive, all my C drive would go on there.
Yes.
Makes sense to people?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know how I got in the habit, but I'll tell you, I just, everything I do on the computer is in the cloud.
Yeah.
Well,
So
Yeah.
you do have two formats, the portable hard drive and the cloud. That's really good too.
Yeah, but it would be, except when I do the external hard drive, it only backs up the C drive, which I have nothing much of anything on. So in this, right now, my setup isn't so good.
You can change that.
I'm going to,
Your external probably has software on it that can tell you that you can set up to what files to save.
yeah, but
okay?
I don't think, Tom, I'm not sure, but I don't think the external hard drive will draw down from the cloud.
Oh,
You
no,
know,
no, 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 no,
No,
no, that's true. It would just, yeah.
yeah. So I don't know.
Are you sure it doesn't, are you sure it doesn't copy it? As you send it to your external, like my external, it copies my, and I have a Mac I'm working on now, but we have all Apple stuff. But everything goes into my external and then it's backed up to the cloud.
Yeah, you can
Yeah, but
set it up that
I
way
did it
too.
I guess I did it in the reverse, Steve. I
Right.
worked in the cloud. And
So
it's just-
anytime I make a change, it automatically updates it both places.
Right, because when I go to work on something, I bring it down from the cloud, work on
Right.
it, send it back, and then it's
But
done.
when you first create something, you hope your external should copy it at that point and then send it up to the cloud.
Oh, you think it might be doing that?
Should
Huh.
be, it should be, but
Huh.
I don't know enough about Microsoft. I just know that
Yeah,
that's
I
what
know.
happens. Because I
It's-
look at my external drive once in a while just to see what files are on it. And it's got absolutely everything on the cloud and everything on my C drive, so.
And I'll
Oh,
throw a new twist in there that any of that can be corrupted.
Yeah.
So you should be running something that checks, does a checksum, they call it, or there's one that's free called Fixity, but it gets very confusing. You have to do it like every 6 months, and then it compares the new thing against the old and tells you if there's files
Right.
have been changed.
yeah.
I'm not
unduly
Get really into it.
concerned with the cloud at all, because those clouds have got like a 6, 7, 8, 9 backup servers to their cloud. So I mean,
Right.
I'm not
I
unduly,
usually throw things on that I really want to make sure I keep. I usually throw them up on Dropbox or
yeah,
Box or something
Use
like that, just to
Dropbox
have
too.
a secondary cloud in case
Yeah.
somebody's
yeah.
server location blows up or something.
Yeah.
I'm also running out of
Or
room
collapses.
on my free OneDrive too. So I
Yeah.
forget my
Well, at least the cloud, if you go to Dropbox, they probably have it already backed up themselves
Right,
to
several
probably,
times.
yeah, several times, so.
It's just I sort of did it back asswards, and I want to start out differently next time.
Going
just-
back to August Lind, I looked
Yeah.
up the naturalization on August Lind, and I found all I did is put in August Lind for US naturalization record indexes under Wisconsin. And I came up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Oh, no, that one doesn't count. 13. Well, anyway, 10 plus August Linds that were naturalized in the Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, Iowa courts, which is what you have to do if you're in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And before 1906 and before. So
But
there's
he was
several there.
born in 1842, from what we know, unless that's wrong.
1842.
That's
yeah.
probably right.
And if I look at just one, I'll just pick one here from Sweden. It supposedly was naturalized October 8th, 1900. And it shows the his whatchamacallit card. And you take that card and it gives a number, certificate number. and you go into the files and you can look it up. You can browse it and find it in the files, and they will have the documents, all the documents that he supposedly signed. Because I've
I'll
done
have
it,
to, I have to have a look there to follow up on that,
yeah.
but
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, it's a little bit of work for it, but you can,
Mhm.
you can find it, and they're
Tom?
not,
What site are you on, Tom? Family Search?
no, this is on, I haven't even looked at Family Search. This is on Ancestry.
Oh, through Ancestry. Okay.
Yeah. So,
Okay,
okay,
that's helpful. Thank you.
Yep.
There's a gentleman in Germany who's asking all this information.
Hmm.
So I'll
Good,
let
he
him
can
know.
translate my German for me.
But he really would like to know where in Sweden too, so if
Well,
you
I
have
can-
any idea, Gretchen.
Yeah, I'll put this Emmy Boss thing in and see if I can find that out, because I've got a birth date, so that's good.
Okay, thank you. It's 3 o'clock now, so does
Yep.
anyone have anything else to add today? Or yes, Russ.
Yes, I put it over here in the chat box, the link for westvirginiaculture.org, and it goes right to death records. Now, if you do a little bit more searching, maybe you can get it to come up for birth records and some others, but I've not had much luck with births
There it is.
working and all, but there's all tons of
Yeah,
death
there it is.
records
Yeah,
at that link right there.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you, Russ.
You got it?
yeah, got it, Russ, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And
Well,
it's
we'll
all
see.
free.
Yeah, that's what's nice, right?
Is
Some,
Yeah, we
I
like
like
that.
free.
That's
We
better
like
yet.
that, free.
well, thank you, and we'll see you in a month,
Right.
in August, the first Thursday of
Well, that'd
August.
be that'd be the 5th of August.
I'll mark my calendar.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, thanks.
All
Bye.
right.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Cool.